guys, today on JZ Tech I will be reviewing the Google Pixel 4a. It's Google's budget smartphone which starts at $350. Is it any good? Let's find out. We will have multiple sections. The first section will be on the build quality. Second will be on the camera. Third will be on the display. Fourth will be on the performance. Fifth will be battery life. And after that, we will discuss if this phone is worth buying. So let's get started. First, the build quality. The Google Pixel 4a, which I've put in Google's case here, but if I take it out of this case, the Google Pixel 4a it has glass on the front and has a plastic side and back with the fingerprint sensor still covered in glass, and the camera also covered in glass, although the flash module is not covered in glass. So it's pretty durable, and at least with my hands, I can't really break it. It's a small phone. It's usable one-handed as long as you have bigger hands than I do, which, in my opinion, for example, some mirrorless cameras grips are too small for me. So, I mean, yeah, you will need some big hands to use it one-handed, unlike the iPhone SE, but at least with the Pixel 4a, you actually get a fast charger in the box compared to Apple's dinky 5-watt charger. Anyway, I'd rate the build quality as, it could be better. I wish the rails were made of the sides were made of metal, and it would be nice to have a metal back, since this phone doesn't have any wireless charging, so that isn't a reason to take off the metal back. So I wish that they put a metal back, but I'd easily give this phone a B, because unlike glass, the plastic does not shatter. We've all heard everything say 4,000 times. Glass is glass, and glass breaks. Plastic, not so much. It's still breakable, but it's harder to break. And that's why devices like the Nintendo Switch are made of plastic. Anyway, let's get on to our next matter, performance. So this phone has a Snapdragon 730G processor, and for what I do, it feels perfectly fluid. It has a 60 Hz display, so it's not like there's any major performance hit, and this processor is easily about as fast as like a Note 9 from a couple of years ago, but I don't really care about benchmarks, and what I care about is actual real-world usage. And for me, this phone is perfectly fine when it comes to speed. Yes, we all know that the 765G or the 865 or an Apple A12 or even A11 chip, for that matter, would probably beat this. But for day-to-day usage, I haven't felt any slowdowns. So that, and also it has a 5.8 inch display with one camera on the back and one camera on the front. So it's like basically an iPhone. It's basically like a Pixel 4, except just remove one lens and make it a plastic body. Remove one lens when it comes to specs. But yeah, that's mostly it. And let's go to our next topic. The camera, and it's good, really good. This camera is better than any mid-range camera. Even those cheap phones running Android Go, allowing them to use the Google camera app, this phone still obliterates them. So yeah, Pixel 4a easily gets a recommendation when it comes to cameras. I really like the camera, and it's a really good camera. Unlike some other cameras that are made from companies like Samsung. I've been telling Samsung, I have an A51 also, and that A51's camera is just terrible. So Google has very good, if not the best quality cameras, better than any phone other than another Pixel. So I'd easily give this an A or A plus when it comes to photos, but when it comes to videos, Google, why did you not put at least a 2.7K or 1440p recording option for the front camera? That would make it so much easier for people to film higher quality video with the front camera. Because for a lot of people these days, the front camera is just as, if not more important than the rear camera is. And it's not like you have a dual display allowing you to like look at yourself on the back side of the phone. It's only a single side display. So Google, can you please fix that? But as a package, considering the front camera and back camera video and photo, I'd easily give it A- or B+ or B++. So the cameras are good. That is not the worst part of this phone. So for the display is a 5.8-inch OLED panel that gives perfectly acceptable colors, and because it's an OLED panel, it has perfect black levels, which basically means that each black pixel has no light compared to LCD displays, where the display itself has a backlight, which means that because of the display having a backlight, then you have to have part of the display that no matter what, even if you turn if you dim the backlight in the areas that are supposed to be black, no matter what, it would still show light. So this is a 5.8-inch OLED panel with good colors and good contrast, and overall, it's a B+. I still think Samsung displays are better. Suck it up. Samsung makes the world's best displays, and anyone else who says otherwise is wrong. But also the only complaint I have is that, can you please have given me a 60 Hz or a 90 Hz panel with an option to set it to 60 Hz? I mean, after the next section, we'll be discussing battery life, which this phone isn't really good at, and adding a 90 hertz display would make it even worse. But Google has never had good battery life. I mean, their batteries have always been smaller, and you probably will have more battery anxiety than on something like an iPhone. But anyway, that ends my section on the display. Let's get to the software. So here's the problem with this. So the software, for me, I really think that Google is just a company who's designed to eat all of your data and doesn't provide any value for it. So for me, I basically have disabled every Google service I can find that is not Google Photos. So instead of using Google Docs, I use Word. Instead of using Meet, I use Teams. Instead of using Google Classroom, I use MS Office. And instead of using Google Launcher, I use Pixel Launcher. I use Microsoft's Launcher, and so on and so forth. So basically, I did first start using the Google Launcher, and I really liked it. I still think that Microsoft made the better launcher, my biggest concern about the software is how well it would age. Because for the older Pixels, which only had like 4 gigs of RAM, they had serious slowdown problems, and this Pixel only has 6 gigs, even though other phones have 8, 10, and even 12 gigs of RAM, which I still don't think anyone needs 12 gigs of RAM on a smartphone. My minimum amount of RAM for Ultrabooks is 12 gigs, so smartphones don't need 12 gigs in order to be usable, but I would at least like Google to put 8 gigs of RAM so that the software is more fluid. And before the Android 11 update, my smartphone had a problem where whenever it would be like super not smooth whenever transitioning from portrait to landscape mode, but at least it's fixed now. So right now I give the software an A+, and you'll probably get updates for security update, and you'll get security updates for 3 years or longer. And for this Android phone, the software is good as long as you take the necessary privacy precautions. Because a lot of the out-of-the-box settings say, yeah, let's just delete all of the privacy concerns and let the user figure it out. Let's just steal all the user's data and let the user turn the data sucking services off if they want to. And Google doesn't even allow you uninstall some stuff like Google Assistant. Like, I really wish I could uninstall Google Assistant. I mean, I don't think they should allow you uninstall Google Play Store, because like, if you do, you're going to have big problems if you've installed a third-party launcher. And same thing with Chrome. I think they should only allow you uninstall Chrome if you have, let's say, Microsoft Edge or Mozilla Firefox or Cake Browser installed on your device. But anyway, the software A+, as long as you take the necessary privacy precautions. So So before we say if you should buy this phone, let's round it out with battery life. First, this battery is pretty small. And the battery life is meh. Like for me, who basically only does YouTube and checks my calendar and plays games, like sometimes I can, but like I basically hardly ever, if not never, get the actual amount of battery life that I'm supposed to. I rarely go through one day, and it's usually 2 or 3, and it's usually until like dinner when my battery dies. But yeah, that's my section on battery life. Next, we are going to be talking about if you should buy this phone. Should you buy it? Yes. That is if you have them. That is if you live in the U.S. If you live abroad, I still think the OnePlus Nord is a better smartphone with a more powerful processor, and yes, it has worse cameras, but it has more of them. And if you live over abroad, then you should get a OnePlus Nord over this. But if you live here in the States and you're contemplating getting this, an iPhone SE or an A51 or A71 5G, get this. It is a better It is the best smartphone for an Android user. If you're an iPhone user, get an iPhone SE. It's still the better phone. And as much as I hate saying this, Apple really made one of the best, if not the best, budget phones of 2020. But if you're an Android user, I can honestly recommend that you should get this phone rather than getting an iPhone SE or Samsung Galaxy A51 5G. So that concludes it. This is my Pixel 4a review. Make sure you like, subscribe, comment down below, and if you didn't like it, the other button might work well. And I'll see you guys in the next one. And adios, amigos.